Jeremy Taylor, and welcome to Wednesday Night Undress, the podcast that reaches into the wobbly places other podcasts dare and venture. Yes, join our panel for a thrilling threnody of rumpustical debate, where the answers are always clear, simple and straightforward, insofar as they can be determined and demonstrated to be without any epistemological problems. Let me introduce our regular panel and guests, Dame Kathleen Taylor, Count Ivo Ivanov, Dr. Orlando, oh yes, and me, Jeremy Taylor, of course. I've already said that. What else do you need to know? Our guests, yes, we have two guests. Just Josh is with us again.
Howdy.
Howdy.
Just howdy.
We're not going to say what he does, but he runs a huge operation helping people, and all we get is howdy.
Only because it annoys you.
Well, what about howdily doodly?
Well, that would be gross. And, of course, the person who keeps butting in, young Brennan. Yes.
You're the one who has the problem with butting in.
No, you like butting in.
Yes, but that's beside the point.
Just bear in mind, I've been doing this a lot longer than you. So, folks, I think the magic Dr. Orlando may be the one to ask about this. You were brought up, I know, in a deeply, deeply religious Southern family.
I never actually stopped to consider that might have something to do with it. But I had this thought, and it's because I was watching my kids the other day, that there were lots of things that I was afraid of as a kid that are obviously, silly right now. For me, it was Dr. Spock's ears. It was so bad that when the original Star Trek series would come on, there would be a single note that was played as sort of a sign that the episode was about to begin. When that note played, I hightailed it out of the room. And I started noticing that my kids had these weird things that they were terribly, terribly afraid of that had no basis in, any rational fear or any, it's not necessarily a phobia, just stupid things that we are afraid of as kids. So I wanted to throw it out to the panel and ask you guys, are there any things that you were afraid of as children that you realize is completely silly?
Well,
right
females
now?
walking up and asking if you want another beer. I don't know where that came from, but it's been with me ever since I was about 2.
Scares you, does it?
That's my favorite thing of all time.
I can say that there's one thing that scared me when I was back in the 60s. And if I go Daleks, my brother and I would go and hide behind the couch whenever the Daleks were coming, black and white Daleks. And we went to the Engineering Museum in London, or the Science Museum in London, on a school trip, and there was actually a Dalek there. And it was sort of weird because it did away with my fear of Daleks,
right?
But also it was seriously disappointing when you saw the thing up close.
So, Josh, have you been here when we talked about the Daleks on any of the shows before? Okay, sorry, go ahead, Kath.
Did they actually have people inside, or were they rolling things?
I don't think they were big enough to actually... Well, the one that you saw...
They were big.
Okay, the ones that you were referring to. So are you a Doctor Whovian? Do you watch this show at all?
The old, 60s, 70s one, but not the
new ones. Okay.
Yeah.
So are you familiar with the Daleks just by name?
No, okay. But I just remember the...
Exterminate.
Exterminate.
So
that just reminds
compute.
Now that
it reminds me of the movie Sid and Nancy when they're playing with the things. Exterminate. Exterminate.
Yes.
So
my punk rock. For the folks that have heard this on the podcast before, the Daleks were basically trash cans that were turned over and had half a tennis ball.
Now I remember. Yes.
And they had a plunger for one arm and something. I don't know what that little piece of plastic was for the other gun, but the way that they wrote Doctor Who, these were the most terrifying creatures to ever exist. They only live to exterminate. So it makes perfect sense to me that they would terrify you as a kid.
Unless, of course, there was a set of stairs handy, in which case you could run up them and they couldn't follow you.
And before I move on to the next thing, I have to tell you my Dalek joke.
Uh-oh.
Oh, God.
Do you have to? Do you absolutely have to?
Everyone makes mistakes, said the Dalek, getting off the dustbin.
Oh.
But the
does
thing
look
that's
like
stuck with me is thorns.
It
I
does look
hate
like a trash can,
I
doesn't
hate rose thorns.
Rose thorns.
The
Yes, the
on
thorns on a rose
bush.
actually make my eyes go all weird.
Just to think about them?
Yeah, I can't go near them. I hate the bloody things.
I've got something like that right now. I just went to, but I went to the Kansas City Aquarium, and I watched the octopus. And after about 30 seconds of watching this, probably like a 4-foot-long octopus, moving through the water, sticking to the glass, and just kind of doing his thing, I got super queasy. And I don't have any other way to explain it other than to say the way that they move is just not
Human.
human. And it completely threw me off.
That's one of the most fascinating creatures. What is it about the octopus?
Just the way, it was weird. I've never had a
like
fear.
it, or?
No. I mean, yeah, I think that they're very, very cool animals, but it was very weird. I watched it and I'm like, I have to stop watching that because
Arms,
it's
just like Donald Trump.
Yeah, you know how intelligent they are, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's
Just
a
like
different
Donald Trump.
topic, but
Yeah.
they can open a jar and they
that is
figure
the
out
coolest,
how to open a jar.
scariest
Really?
thing.
They
And
can do
and
that?
of course octopi.
Yes, and they figured it out how to open it. And people say if they lived longer, they would be insanely, frighteningly intelligent creatures. They don't live long enough to trigger that evolutionary process that would develop their brains like ours.
And of course, octopi in captivity in the Midwest, thousands of miles from the sea, are constantly crapping themselves because the number of Hispanic and Italian restaurants that are around here. You know,
I don't think
Hispanic
so.
restaurants use octopus?
It's
calamari,
That's
Japanese
Not
cuisine uses octopi.
Japanese,
and,
yeah,
Chinese, Korean.
Korean,
Yeah.
Mexicans. Well, you know,
everybody in the world
yeah.
actually eats a
Just
lot of
Josh.
the stuff out of the ocean.
What as a
We don't-
what is it that you were afraid of as a kid?
My dad had this scary mask that he kept in the closet named George.
The closet named George?
No, the mask was named George.
Okay,
And
just
he
wanted
used
to-
to put the mask on and chase us around as children.
Really?
And then he'd put the mask back in the closet that was under the stairs, and we wouldn't open the closet door just because we knew that mask was
my
in there.
Your father was a genius. I wonder what he kept in there.
Yeah. He probably kept an
That's where he
actual
keeps all his
George
money.
who was also in the closet.
Did it ever happen that you were sent out in the yard to play and you heard your mother going, "Oh, George"?
No, I don't.
Sorry, that
I've
just
never
had to
heard
slip
that,
out
but
as a-
I wouldn't be surprised.
That's- What was it? Was it
the actress
African
said to the
mask?
bishop.
No, it was just like a Halloween,
Scary.
like one of those rubber scary masks from the 70s.
So is it like a game thing where he was chasing
Oh
around?
yeah, it was terrible. I mean, he thought it was funny. We didn't. My mom hated it because we'd all cry. and
Right,
She'd be like, "Oh, Jim."
Oh, not George then. Kathleen.
Awesome, Joe.
Oh, I wasn't scared of much because I wasn't really conscious most of the time. I was reading a book. But I fell one time playing in the snow, and I slipped and went down on my hands on the ground, and my head went forward, and a stake, that steel bar that was guarding the flower bed, went into my eye.
No.
But luckily, I caught myself on my hands.
Oh, my goodness.
It just went through the eyelid and scraped my eye.
Great, Dan the Walk.
And I have ever since then been very scared of sticks in the ground.
No
Oddly enough.
joke. Yeah.
Did
Yeah.
Jeremy know this story? Do you know this story? Oh,
He
yeah.
said all this. What?
It's frightening.
I still have a little scar there.
That's, oh man.
Yeah, that was painful. So I get a little bit scared of sticks in the ground and skateboards. God, I hate goddamn awful skateboards. First time I got one and got on one went more than 15 feet, which was on a Christmas day, as a matter of fact, a nice warm Christmas day in Lawrence, visiting relatives. Slipped out from under me. I went down. My face slid on my face. I was not a coordinated kid. Spent Christmas with homemade bandages all over. It wasn't serious, but it was nasty.
It's still traumatic, yeah.
Yeah, I've never been on a skateboard since. I would take an axe to everyone I see.
I don't blame you.
So
Yeah.
what are your feeling on the hoverboards? Have you seen the hoverboards?
Yeah, they can stay where they are.
Okay.
I'll stay where I am, and we'll just agree not to live together.
We've done the hoverboard. Hey, you've done it.
I haven't done it yet.
Oh, it's easy if you look forward. If you look
I've
down.
done it twice. It's nerve-wracking for the first 5 seconds, and then you get it, and it's easy.
Yeah, and then
No,
you're
not all
in
of
the ER. Then you're in the ER and you don't care.
Yeah.
then you
Yeah, you don't get it.
Brennan, childhood for you wasn't that far away. Share with us something that you were afraid of as a kid.
Can I-
Maybe that you think is silly.
Can I do 2 that are still fears today for some unknown reason that I know are completely inane? So the first one, I'm still terrified to all hell of needles, like medical needles. I've always been that way. I don't know why.
You know what? It's pain. It's not unreasonable. Yeah.
And the other one, I've never gotten this, answering the phone from a number I don't know.
Wow.
That is
Sounds
just
like somebody
just
has some
weird. I'm
anxiety.
sorry.
I don't know
You
why.
must be a freak. That's
But
all.
I
answering
know
the
a place where
telephone,
he can get some treatment.
but answering the telephone from a number I don't know.
Warning, bullshit alert.
I am not making this up.
That's so very interesting. Okay, because I come from an age where, like, I remember when caller ID became a thing.
Yeah.
So, like,
Where you just had to pick it up and go, hello?
exactly. So,
Who's
yeah,
on the other side?
the idea that like that could become a phobia just because caller ID is so ubiquitous is actually something I never ever would have considered
It's
before.
seriously, for some reason, a thing. Like, I will see numbers I don't know on my phone, and I'll prefer to just reject the call.
Count even off.
What can I clarify because I'm not familiar with the topic, but I feel that it's about fears that still persist
No,
from childhood.
When you were a child, what something that you were afraid of as a kid that you may think is silly today?
Oh, so you've overcome that fear.
Yes.
You don't.
I see.
Or not.
It doesn't matter. Just a fear from your childhood.
Like a silly fear,
like
whether you.
and you with the sticks.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so I have something like Josh's. We had a painting of the Mona Lisa in our room, and for some reason that face freaked me out. Partly because it watches you wherever you go, and especially when there was nobody else in the room, I would feel like this thing is about to come alive. And that frightened me, the very prospect of this. Also, I had a very overactive imagination. Still
say.
do. Yeah. And in the darkness, not necessarily afraid of the darkness, but of the semi-darkness, when I could still kind of distinguish shapes. And the shapes in my imagination took different meaning and turned monstrous and whatnot, and I was looking at some shape that was like a table or something, and slowly it started looking like some organic creature was about to move. So that's something that I overcame. I also was afraid of thunder, petrified of very powerful thunder. Yes, and then I overcome that fear. And about, I want to say maybe 16, 17 years ago, I might have told you this story. We got actually, me and 20 other guys, we got hit by lightning.
No, I've never heard this.
You've never heard this?
No.
So we were playing soccer on 23rd and Iowa, and it was really ominous. The sky was the ceiling was really low. The clouds were coming low. It looked tornadic, but it wasn't raining. And I was increasingly worried. I was looking at the sky, it was changing colors and looked scarier and scarier. But we just kept playing, and nobody wanted to leave because you would come across as as a scaredy cat. And so we kept playing.
Machismo
And
strikes
yeah,
again.
machismo, and suddenly it came. The lightning hit. I want to say maybe 100 yards from where we were playing, and the current spread on the grass, through the grass, and each one of us got hit from the ground up. I actually saw a bolt coming and hitting one guy in the finger, and everybody was on the grass, and it was the most frightening thing because I couldn't use the muscles in my chest to take a breath. Everything contracted, and you're on the ground. You realize you're not dead, but you can't breathe. You can't get because everything's contracted. So
It's horrible.
we all recovered, and everybody just ran like crazy. Got up and ran to their cars, and we were gone. And I didn't play soccer for 2 years afterwards. It was that traumatic. The guy that got hit, I talked to him later. He said he got hit in his wedding ring. It jumped, and he had a scar on where his ring was. It jumped and hit the metal. So now I'm mindful. I don't want to say I'm very scared, but I'm mindful of lightning, and I go and seek shelter because I know it's not a joke. So crazy story.
Jeremy, where's that bullshit button?
Yeah.
That was bullshit.
True story.
That is
Jamie's
insane, man.
Jamie's about to show up. Ask her when she comes about this. This was I was really traumatized for a while.
So could you actually see the lightning once it hit the ground and started rolling, or did you just
No.
feel it?
No, we heard it.
Uh-huh.
It was very close. Next thing I remember, I was on the ground.
Holy
It was
hell.
crazy.
Wow, that's intense.
Yeah.
Tell me something. The people who have their own properties and so on. Is recycling actually worth the effort? Or
Did you finish what you were scared of?
He started. He
Okay.
he
All right.
had
I just want to
thorns.
make
I
sure.
wanted to know,
Right.
is recycling actually worth the effort, or in reality is it just a waste of time? And I'll leave you with this thought I'll give you this thought. Most of you will have done history lessons,
No, we
and
never
during
did
the Second World War, there were all these metal drives for aluminium.
25% tariff.
You'd see great piles of aluminium. And in England, they used to chop down steel railings, all to go towards the war effort.
Iron railings.
And the reality was they didn't use any of it. It was really so that the people felt that they were all
Useful.
contributing and pulling
Working
together as
together.
a team. Yeah. And
Oh, now we're gonna do conspiracy shit.
I'm wondering to myself,
Bullshit detected. Take precautions.
I'm wondering whether or not there's actually any real use in doing what we do. And since they've removed, in my case, where we used to live, we used to dutifully take our brown bottles to the brown bottle thing, and the green bottle to the green thing, and the white bottle to the white bottle thing. And there they go in the rubbish bin now.
Yeah.
Brennan, you
we don't have a
start
spot
with this
to take
one.
it anymore.
This is one that is definitely contended a lot, but from an economic standpoint, there is not a lot of point to recycling because in almost every case, it costs more to recycle a good, like particularly in plastic and paper, it costs more to recycle than it does to make from scratch. And also from an environmental standpoint, especially in paper, from how you have to wash it a lot of time, from ink and from cardboard, like chipboard that you use for like boxes and such, it's environmentally worse as well. It is because of the ways that it has to be washed and then made into pulp and then reused.
But see, trash is a commodity, as I understand, and the companies, for example, the blue bins that you recycle, that all gets packaged together and it gets sold to other countries. They sell it to China, to manufacturers in China, and they make billions of dollars, these companies.
This is factoring that in. It's using recycled materials for that ends up costing more than using it from scratch. But
you're only paying a penny an hour to the person that's dipping it, so it doesn't actually cost that much more.
Probably they can't sell it to companies here in the States. But they are selling it in China. There's
So then you have to factor the cost of shipping all this garbage to China and also the environmental impact.
They
No,
wouldn't
throw
buy
it in
it.
the sea and it floats there.
They wouldn't buy tons and tons and tons and tons of it if it wasn't economically viable.
Yes, they would, from the standpoint of especially if you sell it to the West, it's much more valuable from a marketing standpoint. This is made from recycled material.
Yeah, part of it is
That's
that
true.
you can charge more for recycled stuff because
That's true.
people see the value of reusing rather than kind of using fresh natural resources.
People see value in it, but in truth, there's not a lot of value to it.
So Kathleen,
What about
Except that
aluminum cans? There's
eventually you
value
are going
there,
to
right?
run out of natural resources.
But in a lot of cases, we found ways around that. We were worried about running out of trees at one point. Most of our paper, about like a vast majority of our paper, comes from trees grown specifically for paper. We're not cutting down random forests to make paper or to make wood for houses. The stuff that we're cutting down out of random forests is for the crazy people who want fancy woods for their stuff, which is just bullshit
Forests
anyway.
around the world
Mahogany.
are starting to disappear.
Well, they are, but they're because of stuff that's unrelated to actual paper production and such.
Industrialization.
Industrialization, yeah, but
That's what
it
we
all
need.
contributes. It probably all contributes. I don't have proof for that, but that is my feeling, my gut feeling.
And
I
this-
agree with you, Kath. It's since Brennan is a economics accounting major, it's difficult to argue the point, but I refuse
But it's so much
to
fun
believe,
to argue with, Brennan.
Yeah, I refuse to believe that recycling has
yeah, Brennan, you're talking
zero
out of your arse again.
Or, no. The problem
It's easy.
The problem is we are all talking out of our ass.
Yeah, I
Brennan
know,
is really
yeah.
the only person that has.
Yeah, but don't tell him
definitive.
that, for God's sake.
How about the easy stuff, like aluminum cans?
No,
Well-
that is one of the that is one of the few areas of recycling that is very good to do because bauxite is difficult and expensive to mine. It is environmentally damaging to mine. That is one of the recycling points that is very, very good to recycle.
If
But
we
what about
were-
mining aluminium?
That's what is made.
aluminum.
That's what.
Don't go there, Brennan.
Okay.
Yeah.
The problem,
he's egging you on.
yeah, the problem is, Brennan, is that we mostly recycle in one single bin, and we dispose recyclables that are put together, and then they package. They don't separate them. They package them together and sell that as a raw material, as a commodity. If we recycle responsibly, so we put glass in one bin, plastic in another bin, aluminum cans in another bin, that's when it's going to be much more economically
I just
impactful,
honestly,
no?
I just can't do it all. So
Yeah.
I just got to put it in my blue bin
Yeah.
and pretend that it's doing something good.
Yeah,
Right?
I do the
Because
same.
Louis
every
wants to say
day I'm
something.
trying to do good, and I can't sit here and go, oh my God, maybe I'm not doing good. I guess I'll put it in the trash bin.
There is.
Dr. Orlando.
Two quick things. First one, in the numbers that you're talking about, are the costs of trash waste management basically considered in the cost of not recycling?
No, this is in the pure cost of
Right.
dealing with the goods versus creating it new.
We should have a bin for glass, a bin for plastic, a bin to recycle the Fox News bullshit that is being spewed at
That's
me
in your
every
brain.
It
single
should not be
day.
recycled. That should be buried.
I was 100% sure you were going to go with a bin for cricket hardware.
How did you miss that? Yeah.
No. I would rather watch 8 hours of a slow formation of a yellowish, gelatinous, shapeless stain on the Conroy ceiling tiles than watch 10 minutes of cricket.
So you'd rather watch Tom
I
Conroy?
object. These stains are not shapeless. Some of them look like Mona Lisa. There's the Scream over there.
I would rather
There's a
watch.
lady picking flowers in a field.
I can see there the Last Supper.
Yeah, see? Right along there. Last
You do
Supper.
wonder if there are new ones, don't you? Do you find yourself sitting here looking up at the ceiling?
It's
thinking,
kind of
is
engaging.
that a new
yes.
one?
Yes.
What's interesting is when the whole tile is turned yellow.
To
It has
something
no longer,
other, yeah.
no longer has a
Oh
spot.
my God.
Now, we
It's
can
like looking at the Milky Way, isn't
Don't
it?
ever replace these tiles, Brennan.
we can always use this to guilt our landlord into actually paying for a proper roof
No
replacement
joke.
that causes this.
No, your dad did that ages ago, but he spent the money down the where.
All right, my second real quick thing. Have you guys seen what they do in Japan? Like, they basically have a blue bag that you put your trash in that you can't recycle. Anything that doesn't go in the blue bag, you put into what Evo's talking about. Like, you've got one bag for glass, one bag for plastic, one bag for biodegradables, so on and so on. Anything that is not in the blue bag is free. Anything in the blue bag you have to pay for. when your trash goes out. And so Japan is actually slowly getting rid of like all of their waste. You know, Japan was selling their waste to Norway at some selling their waste to Norway. They're getting to the point now where they don't have it because they've enacted this.
That is a brilliant
That's
idea.
amazing.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
And one other point. I would totally agree with recycling, or especially getting rid of somehow plastics, because those are going to destroy the planet, destroy it. I don't know what the point of recycling glass is, because I just don't think it's all that useful.
you can
They
melt down,
reuse it.
You can melt down glass.
I'm
really.
sure you can, but it's also sand.
Yeah. That's another. That's where when I mentioned it costs more to recycle. That's one of the cases where it's not environmentally better, but it costs less to
Yeah.
make glass
I
renew.
love amber glass.
Amber,
Amber, yeah.
it's beautiful.
When it's in beer, or when beer is in
No.
it.
I don't drink like amber.
It's a glass full of amber
the
stuff.
color,
Yeah.
you like the color of amber.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Yeah.
Aluminium, for me, for one of my hobbies, is interesting. In that melting aluminium, you can make things out of aluminium once you've got your act together with a mold. So, for instance, a wheel on a machine, you know, turning, they break from time to time, and so you can use the old wheel and make up a mold if you've got the right sand, and then you can melt aluminium and you can make an aluminium wheel that works
I've
perfectly.
said many times that he's considering like a
aluminum.
world domination scheme. There's something like fundamentally twisted with this guy. Aluminium, what molds?
Yes. Do you
Who-
watch
I mean,
those
people
videos?
like basketball. People have hobbies like go bowling. This guy thinks of aluminium molds.
No. I agree with you, Jeremy.
Frightens me. He frightens me.
Do you watch the
love
YouTube
him.
videos on making the molds and like building a
does he?
forge?
Yeah.
No, they are like incredibly interesting. I spend way too much time looking at something I will never do.
Those things are addictive.
Yeah.
These old guys on there saying, and here I've been putting this. Ow!
Oh, man. You guys have way too much time on your
If I
hands.
can,
I need some of this time.
Evo, I wondered if you could help us, because I deal a lot with you, sports-wise and other things that we won't talk about.
Okay.
One of the things that you like, and my producer Eric, sitting down at the other end of the room, likes, it's sort of like bracketology. I'm not even sure if it's a real word. Certainly is
It
not a
is.
spell checker.
anymore.
No,
yes.
it is now.
Yeah.
And Eric, the producer, one of his favourite things he likes to do at this time of March Madness and everything else is he likes to make up brackets for me. Cars against cars, or, you know, spies against spies. You know, who's going to come out on top, James Bond or
It is a weird
whoever.
sort of definition of brackets.
But you're an expert on bracketology, and I'm interested to know, what does it tell us, do you think, about modern America and our society and our priorities?
That's a good question.
Thank you.
Because we actually spend
he has no intention of answering it.
we spend billions of dollars every year, right? Every year, small office pools that involve maybe $5 entry fee, $10 entry fee. When you put it all together, and we are talking about billions and billions of dollars, and also the work hours. How much time is being wasted every March around the tournament? It's mind-boggling. It's become a national obsession, and I feel like there's many reasons for it. One of it is very human. I feel like human beings just love variable outcomes. They love the unexpected. They love the surprise, the underdog, and this is one of the most unpredictable things designed by man. So
Especially
you have
this year.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
my God.
This year is insane. I'm sure Brennan has his bracket here.
No, I have all 50 of the ones I grade for the pool
Okay.
here at Conroy's.
So I'm holding in my hand
About
what?
$500.
$500 worth of brackets. Here's Daniel. It looks like a crime scene.
Yeah.
He's not
Everything's crossed
gotten
off.
one single
And he's-
single result correctly.
And he's in second place.
It's that is a
But
disaster.
let me drag you back to the
Yeah.
original thought, which
Yeah.
is, what does it tell us about
Society.
our society and our
priorities.
priorities? Yeah.
there's several ways to answer this. Obviously, the most obvious answer is that we tend to focus on the wrong priorities when everything around us is falling apart. There's Rex Tillerson just ran by me with his hair on fire. There's like the world is falling apart, and we're worried mostly about March Madness and the number 16 eliminating the number 1. But on the other hand, could it be just a respite? A form of escapism, a way to run away from all the madness for a little bit into the March Madness. Maybe
Possibly.
that's it. Maybe it's a
Do
good
other
thing. Maybe
countries
it's
do this?
cathartic.
Kathleen.
Do other countries do the same sort of fascination and whole nation focus?
Have you
on,
never heard of Irish soccer? Or,
Well,
excuse me,
yes.
Irish football?
You're quite
Or-
right. Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
There's some other English-speaking ones that do.
What
for sure.
Kathleen says makes me think, well, what about the Premier League?
Yes, and
Oh,
we
my
have
goodness,
this thing
yeah.
called Euro Football Toto. Well, Euro Football Lotto is basically you play these brackets every weekend. Every week you predict who's going to win. Just like in Las Vegas, but it's all over Europe, and there's all over the country in Bulgaria and the rest of Europe. There's these offices everywhere on the streets. You can walk in and wager, and so you're basically gambling, but it is a form of this, of the bracket, and it's every
everybody's
week.
seen these weird Japanese competitions on television. Those can get. So I guess pretty much everybody
But the
does
one,
this sort of
but the
escapism.
1 month madness doesn't exist. That thing doesn't really exist anywhere else. I don't think.
I have a question for Brennan, and
Yes, sir.
to bring Brennan in.
Yes, sir.
Brennan is, I would say, a national expert on motor racing, on different forms of motor racing. And another thing that I've often thought of with brackets, I've seen brackets before I came to America, and I couldn't figure out where. And I've just realised,
Drag racing?
no, on the grid of a Formula One motor race, it's a bracket. If you think about it, they have to go through all sorts of hoops, practice days, different to get in different places. It's just interesting that I know it's a bit of a stretch, but we do seem to like to place people, don't
Yeah.
we?
Oh, absolutely.
Well, one of my. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, it's all good. No, yes, we absolutely do. And, well, especially for brackets, it's a way to make comparing things easier, because instead of having to look at everything instead of having to look at like a big list of 30 and say directly, this is better than this for these 3 are the top 3 of that, it's a simpler way to look at it.
Yeah.
Just put
One
it out and
two at
say,
a time.
yeah, just 2 at a time. Is this better than this? Okay, then, this goes on. It just makes it simpler.
Did you know that last year for the March Madness bracket,
Yeah.
in the office, we always do this every year.
Mm-hmm.
I just did a straight mathematical formula. Didn't matter what the name of the team was. On one side, I took the top team 1, and on the other side, I took the bottom team 1, and just brought them all down, and I won.
You know what we should have is a bracket for all the White House staffers, and have eliminate every week. There's going to be a couple eliminated, and see who's going to win at the end. Who's going to be the last of the island?
So just Josh.
So, my son's a wrestler, and every weekend we have brackets in wrestling on who he's going to wrestle, and it's single elimination, double elimination, round robins, things like that. So it's not just March Madness that this happens. This is how you decide who's first, who's second, who's third, who's fourth in all kinds of different sports. It just gets blown up for the month of March for basketball because the NCAA
But what
wants
does it
more
tell
money.
us about our priorities? I mean, this country has
For March or just brackets in general?
I'm thinking about our fascination, or Americans' fascination with sport. It's sort of like
Americans are the only people that are fascinated
Have
Say
they?
something,
Has he
he's about to
never?
explode.
Has he never heard of the soccer?
The World
Or
Cup.
excuse me, football. Sorry, football.
Oh, football,
teams. Fans that kill each other in the stadiums in Europe.
Yeah, but they do that
Over
without
the
football.
course.
By the
They
way,
don't do that
Yeah.
much here in the United States for that.
By the way,
mean, they might fight.
round robin is a great name for a superhero from Mississippi.
Brennan.
I am. Every time I hear you talk about the priorities about this, I want to explode because here's my big thing. I am comparing this
Well,
to.
you do have a big thing too, don't you?
Yeah.
You naughty boy.
That's the first time I've seen Brennan blush on the panel.
So there's two things I
man.
want to compare this to. When you
That's what she
talk
said.
about how much,
As the actress said to the bishop.
when you talk about how
Try
much
and keep
people
going. You're
spend
doing well.
time on this compared to everything else, I just think, well, people spend a freaking month debating on what Christmas present they want to buy everyone else. And if you want to compare this to the rest of the world, all I can say is the UEFA Champions League and the World Cup.
Oh yeah,
That
you're right.
stops the countries.
Yeah, you're right. And it's
a
not just filling out the bracket. People are actually watching the
Yes,
games. you know?
it's
Yeah.
these are cultural events.
Yes.
It's sports, but it's something that people can come together for.
And hate the other side.
Do
we
you-
come together to hate
Come
you.
together to hate.
No, that's more
if
in the
you didn't have to
European
worry
side.
about
No one-
food, water, or shelter, you're filling out a bracket.
Right.
Interesting. We'll move on to subjects, but a lot of very, very sensible, brainy people who talk about what governments are doing are saying that one of the few ways to deal with the Russians, and particularly Putin, would be to do the same thing to Russia that the world did to South Africa all those years ago when
Isolate
they were trying
them.
to deal with apartheid.
Yep.
But the fear is that the Russian people would only hear what the leaders are telling them. So when someone decides to throw a bomb at somebody else, they would support it. Which leads me a little bit on to politics, and I just want to put this in perspective, and we're going to start with Brennan, who most of us have voted lots of times. I'm unable to vote in America because I'm a permanent resident. Brennan has in fact voted once. But I say this, I posit that politics is simply tribal. We no longer vote on the issues. Is it fair to say that if we are, for example, democratic and the Republican has a good idea and maybe some good policies, we wouldn't vote for them because they are not of our tribe, and thus we simply would not vote Brennan?
The resounding answer to that is absolutely yes. Politics in America, especially for someone who I've grown up seeing this is the only exposure I have to a political system, has devolved into purely we are identifying by our party. We do not identify by the policies in it. I present as two greatest examples the way that cybersecurity has been treated over the past few over the end of the Bush administration and the Obama administration, and also the way that military action was treated at the end of the Bush administration and Obama administrations. The minute that one president starts talking about it, the other side treats it as completely worthy of vilification, and when it switches to their president, they completely switch the sides, start agreeing with it, and then the side that was supporting it during the last term immediately goes to the other side. We have lost all, especially in that sense, we have almost lost all ability to vote on issue, and we are voting purely on party.
And I would just like to point out, if you're listening to this in the car or wherever, Bush, the last Bush, and Bush's father were both Republicans. Just so you know, because you might have fallen.
I really appreciate that, Joe.
Well, I thought you might not want to know.
Really
Dr.
confused.
Orlando.
It's not a beer?
Yeah, exactly. I was so confused before he made that announcement. So I agree for the most part. I'm not sure that it is as cut and dry as we are just tribal. I think that what you said is right. And I'm just going to say it. I think it's right for one side.
I completely disagree because of especially the way the military action has been treated.
So I have this idea, and it's just an idea, and I haven't fleshed it out. So if it's completely wrong,
Okay.
I'm okay. I'll be okay with that. But I believe that there is a concerted effort by one side to undo or keep the other side from having any political success, for lack of a better way of describing it. And there's another side.
You said you'd be all right if you thought it was
like I
bullshit.
said,
All right,
I haven't
just-
fleshed this out.
Oh dear.
I don't want to flush it out. I want to flesh it out. So I feel like the conservative wing of our politics is hell-bent on making sure that nothing that the liberals want to push through happens.
And they have
Let me
been for
finish.
years.
Oh, no, I'm
Let me
letting you
finish.
finish.
So whereas the liberals have a much more let's see what this is all about attitude. And if, for instance, Bush the elder calls on military action and the Democrats think it's justified, you are much more likely to get Democrats that will agree with Bush than you will Republicans that will agree with Clinton or Obama or Carter or any other like Democrat president that you name. And as a general rule, the conservatives say, no, we don't agree en masse. Whereas it is, my opinion, my impression, that the Democrats are always more, let's look at the merits of this.
I view that as very incorrect. From my point of view, what I've seen the Democrats do it just as bad as the Republicans have done it.
I think that there are some Democrats, without question, and I think that there are some conservatives, some Republicans, but I think that overall you have a higher percentage of, and again, we're just talking about opinion. Neither one of us is right.
No, absolutely.
But I feel like there's a much higher percentage of Republicans that subscribe to this, we just don't want the other side to succeed, versus Democrats who are, we don't want the other side to succeed.
So it's all bullshit. Just
I like that. I agree with that.
When you vote for Republican, you are voting for Republican policies. When you're voting Democratic, you're voting Democratic policies due to the sheer fact of what they stand for. Now, when a Republican gets an unwanted pregnancy, yes, of course they go get an abortion, right? Uh-huh. And there are lots of Democrats that own a gun, right? Mm-hmm. And own AR-15s with mini mags and all of that stuff too. It's just they've put this line in the sand that said, oh, we're going to follow these main things. We don't want religion in our schools, so we're going to vote Democrat. We want religion in our schools, we're going to vote Republican.
So if they feel strongly about a certain issue, it is likely they'll just adopt all the other issues of the corresponding parties. There's been these studies that are popping up every once in a while. The latest one was from Northwestern University, and I see them all the time on the Google News queue, that we're wired that way, that people are wired, their brains are wired differently, the liberals and the conservatives, and it's very interesting to see that there's actually some kind of genetic predisposition to take a certain side. And I gotta tell you, the more I think about it, the more I realize moderation is not effortless.
No,
it takes a serious conscious effort to decide to fight your own instincts and be in the middle. Yeah. And make compromise. We don't make compromises, and that's where tribalism really becomes destructive.
But can I point out that the mindset of becoming a conservative and the mindset of becoming a liberal is by definition open to other ideas. A conservative is by definition closed to all other ideas.
But
so liberals
is loyal to tradition.
Maybe, maybe not. They're also open to new ideas. So a liberal turn of mind leads you to be able to vote for somebody that you trust as an individual, whether they've got the right party designation or not. It leads you to vote for somebody who will vote for what you care deeply about, no matter what their party designation. I think that the liberal side has that in their disposition, and the conservative side does not.
I would agree with that. I don't know. When I was in high school, that was exactly how I thought about it. But I find that in practice, it is not ever that simple.
Oh, it's not simple. I didn't say it was simple. I just meant in general.
There's pluses on each side and minuses on each side. For example, one of those studies was they were examining college students who are self-identified as liberal and conservative. And the same group, the same number of people, they looked at their dorm rooms. And the conservatives were far more organized. They had things more often. They had calendars on their walls. They're more structured. Their lives, their rooms were more structured. The liberals were very creative and scattered. And you want in a government, you want both things to be represented about equally, really.
Yeah, but it's
you
not
don't
just
want
time, though.
you don't want to not have structure, and at the same time, you don't want to be completely void of creativity.
So,
you know.
I might get myself in a little bit of trouble here.
I'm sitting right next to you. Watch out.
There's some things happening in our own community right now with a vote that we're all going to have. And there's misrepresentation of information going around about this. And there's a side that's willing to die on the sword, even though that they're giving out misrepresentation about it just to get a certain vote, a no, when they don't have all of the information about the situation. And they're giving out
local issues like that when they involve taxes aren't strictly a liberal versus conservative.
Right. Is it about Tyson in Tonganoxie?
No, it's not about Tyson. It's in our own community. That will impact
the jail.
It'll impact people that make $700 a month.
Homeless people.
All kinds of people that make $700 a month. It'll impact that if it doesn't go through.
Well, tribalism was the original question, not necessarily conservatives and liberals, right? So tribalism.
But those are the two tribes.
Well, but there's
Currently.
many tribes. If you think about it, tribalism is embedded in us since the beginning of time,
and we need it.
We are tribalistic, gender-wise, age. Sexual preferences, religion, we are so predisposed to tribalism, and it's usually very destructive. All wars, if you think about it, wars are tribalism.
I agree.
Racism is tribalism. The Holocaust was tribalism. We feel superior. Our tribe is better than yours. We feel superior to you, and we want to. You're the enemy. I am in this church across the street is the synagogue. Well, we're better. This is the right religion. And you know what? On the other side of the street, I bet you they have the same look.
Tribalism is about connection to others. And I believe that we're losing that in this country, belonging to something. So tribalism. But that is tribalism. I mean, we all belong to a tribe at some point where we helped each other out to get the common good. Some are bad tribes, right, that come in and kill the other tribe. But for the most part, the tribe works as a community to get something done. Right?
I don't think so. I've seen
100%. The monkey sphere. Have you ever been here when we talked about the monkey sphere? Like how many people you can actually actively care about at the same time? Like the whole idea is expand your monkey sphere.
And read Sebastian Junger's book, The Tribe.
I'm going to get up to more than a half a person soon.
I really think tribalism is a destructive behavior because I can see the areas
Comes
that
from
I would.
Millennial right here. Doesn't just belongs to his phone.
No, it's because
hitting,
I'm not hitting. I'm just pointing. No, because I can see the tribes I would be grouped into. I am a millennial. I am a college student. I am that. I am whatever. And every single person I've seen who has strongly identified as part of that, I've seen use it for nothing but destructive behavior. I see people who identify as millennials use it as a way to distance themselves and to actively attack the boomer generation, Generation X, everyone who identifies as a college student, done to use it to be destructive and separatist towards people in the workforce, people who have jobs, people who are executives, people who identify strongly as homosexual use it to strongly distance themselves from straight people, from asexual people. It's very destructive behavior.
So you basically belong to the tribe that hates tribes.
That's how I believe people use. That's
so
how
you think tribalism is growing in strength with the millennial generation and will probably continue to grow because of more interconnectedness and more social networks?
No, tribalism has stayed this way the whole time. It's just for some reason now it's becoming more clear. People have always been tribalistic about things, like older people who look down on those damn kids.
There should be a semantic separation between these two things: tribalism as a community and as a group of people working together to achieve something, and tribalism as a way to separate from somebody. These are not the same things.
They're not the.
Can I just interrupt real quick to say that whole millennial stuff is silly because it's obvious that Generation X is the best generation to be a part of.
Okay, baby boomers rock.
Those are all right. I like the guys.
I think it's interesting. I was listening to what you were saying, Brennan, just now.
Yes, sir.
And I don't use the title. So no need to call me sir. Not in this country anyway. Here's the thing. You belong, because you're gay and you don't mind admitting it, to a very large tribe. And I sometimes think to myself, people say to me, you don't like gays. And I never know how to answer that question. If I say I do like gays, the conservatives in my family and other people say, oh, so you're gay then? No. Well, then you don't like gays. And it's always I've always found it frustrating that there is no, you either like or you don't like. There's nothing in the middle. There are some gays who really quite happy when they fall off.
You do not
fall
like,
off the. It's much easier
you don't like
to
them. You don't like them because they're gay. You like them because they're assholes.
I dislike them because they're assholes.
Right.
Yes. No.
It has nothing to do with them being gay, but there are some.
But then you shouldn't describe them as the gays that you don't
right.
like.
They're just people.
And that's my point. It's like, and again, you said you get into trouble. I will get into trouble for what I'm about to say, but it's like people of the Jewish religion,
Yes, you will.
right? Who operate the way they operate. In Israel, you can drive down certain roads on a Sunday and everything's fine. You try driving down that road on a Saturday and your car will get stoned.
Yep.
If somebody...
And I'm just saying that we have all these different tribes, and as Dr. Orlando mentioned, or you did. Sorry, Josh, you did. If you've ever seen Millwall Football Club play someone like Luton, they have something like 200-300 feet where no one's allowed to sit, and they have police horses down on the pitch.
Nobody's
for that
ever
game.
seen them play because they're all so busy fighting.
Yeah, that's tribes. Go to Northern Ireland, classic example of tribes. And I mean Bulgaria. I mean, don't start me on Bulgaria. Those Bulgarians.
Those Bulgarians.
I'm just interested to know whether there's any chance at all that America could ever have what we had in England for a little while called the Liberal Democrats. You had the Republicans and you had Democrats, or Conservatives and the Labour Party, and England was known in the 70s and the 60s and the 50s as a two-party country. And then all of a sudden, very slowly in the 70s, some Labour MPs said, we've had enough. We don't want to be conservatives, but we have certain beliefs that we have, but we still would like to drive a nice car.
I think we're going to see maybe some of that as far as on the Republican end moving towards a middle, especially with what's happening right now in our country. I think you'll see a little bit of that, but I don't know if you'll see a defection from either side to form a third.
A true third party.
So, don't we have that already though with the Tea Party? Like, is the Tea Party separate, or so they're not, and they're not also folding back in?
No, they're still part of the Republican
They're
Party.
still okay. We're saying that they're okay. Just curious because there's.
I'd like to, before we finish, I want to take 5 minutes to get your opinion on this. There's a new video out which mashes up clips from Star Wars and Star Trek into a trailer for what was going to be a 1985 film whose release would have seen the sci-fi event of the century. Trapped in a galaxy far, far away, Captain James T. Kirk and the crew of the famous Starship Enterprise are left to the mercy of an evil galactic empire and caught in the middle of an interstellar war. Known as the Carbonite Maneuver, intones as the Enterprise is captured by a Star Wars Imperial Star Destroyer, which we have proved earlier could not happen. Should they make the film whilst William Shatner is still alive? What would your storylines be? Remember, we have 3 left. We have Nimoy, Shatner, and...
Nimoy died.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
So we've got 2 left. We've got Shatner and...
You're no longer scared of the ears.
no longer. Yes, thank goodness.
Shatner, and who's the other guy who's still alive?
The doctor.
But there's like a bunch of
They
a bunch of
do.
people are
Japanese guy.
taking Takei.
George Takei is still alive.
George Takei.
So what I'm getting at is we
Takei. It's Takei.
It's Takei,
He,
like
he
toupee.
hates Kirk, Captain Kirk, William Shatner, and he likes to say that he always messed up his name and call him Takai. He says, no, William, it's Takei, like toupee.
So what do we think? I mean, could we make a film?
Absolutely. By the way, carbonite effect, carbonite maneuver. Is that like the Heimlich maneuver, but performed by the C-3PO? Carbonite maneuver.
Well.
Carbonite maneuver is the name of the movie.
That's the name of a show within the original Star Trek run.
Yeah, I mean it's possible. So they're
I'm looking
trapped.
for storylines.
So William, okay, that's easy.
that's
William,
easy. I got it.
Captain Kirk is trapped in a galaxy far, far away. So he encounters the Millennium Falcon, right? The spaceship Millennium Falcon. So they actually dock together because he's in trouble. They're running out of fuel, right? So they dock together. And William Shatner tries to enter Millennium Falcon, but he gets kicked out because it's only now open to millennials. He doesn't belong to that tribe.
Wow.
They tell him, sorry, sir, you're not allowed, so you need to detach. So now they're wandering
but
through the
before
galaxy.
they have detached,
Yes.
a few tribbles have escaped into the Millennial Falcon.
Even better,
Yes.
Jar Jar Binks and
Played
the
by
Ewoks,
Jack Black.
and the Ewoks, and the Ewoks joined forces
Yes.
to try to kill
Yes.
the
Yes.
What
Captain
Yeah.
Kirk.
Captain
Oh,
Kirk.
no.
But what happens is, meanwhile, Luke Skywalker ends up somehow. He's floating through space in a small shuttle. Right, he has survived the latest war.
Because he's actually Kirk's son.
He ends up no, he's not. He's Spock's son. He finds out. Luke Skywalker finds out.
goddamn ears are back
Luke
now.
Skywalker already has a father. It's Darth Vader. No,
It's his stepfather.
no. Han Solo finds out that he's Spock's son. See, on Vulcan, obviously they're multi-sex.
I got to stop everybody right now before anybody else is qualified to make any more comments about this. I need to know. I need to have your bona fides. What is the name of the sex act that Spock has to go through every 7 years after reaching adulthood?
Oh, Jar Jar
It's
Binks
called-
says that means it coming.
I didn't ask you. You're not on the panel.
Okay, producer found it. He knew.
Yes.
He wasn't on a
All right,
on a,
but
on
these
a
guys are
microphone,
still
though.
drawing a complete blank. So
Yeah.
I just need to let everybody that's listening know that anything these guys are saying should not be considered canon. Proceed.
Whatever.
I hate
The
Star
ickle
Trek.
pickle
So.
removed.
Whatever the sex act is on Vulcan, it has produced Han Solo. So Han Solo is Spock's son. He discovers this and he's devastated. But meanwhile, yes,
He doesn't have the good ears.
Meanwhile, what happens is, yes, that's a good point. What happens is,
He doesn't belong to the tribe because he doesn't have.
yes, Han Solo is scavenging. As you know, he's a scavenger, right? He wants to get back his spaceship from the freaking millennials. But what he needs is this new metal called carbonite,
Carbamite, yes.
which is basically was accidentally produced in an aluminum mold in
the shape of a
Jeremy
wheel,
Taylor's
yes.
in Jeremy Taylor's hangar. Yes, but apparently this new metal carbonite is extremely valuable. It's the most priced commodity next to prepackaged trash, and and so he he's on a quest now for as much carbonite as possible to reclaim his spaceship. Okay.
Whew, I think we did it, Jeremy.
We did not
did.
have a female character in
Oh,
this
Jar Jar
movie,
Binks.
which is no, Jar Jar Binks is not female.
Yes,
He's
she
been played
is.
like Jack Black. He's a comic relief.
These are coming.
We need a beautiful princess played by Jennifer Lawrence somehow to enter the story.
I don't want a beautiful princess. I want a nasty old lady who saves the day.
Nasty
Kathy
old lady.
Bates.
Okay, yeah. Somebody real.
Sledgehammer.
Yeah.
Kathy Bates, or who was the lady with Whoopi Goldberg?
Oh yeah.
Whoopi
Yeah.
Goldberg.
Oh yeah, she'd
I
be
think
good
she'd
in
be
this.
good. So Eva is traditionally at the end of Wednesday night undressed. You tell us who our sponsors for the evening have been, and we'd like to thank them.
Makers of bullshit buttons.
Yeah, get ready for a bullshit button. So, before I go into our sponsor today, I just want to say that I would rather watch 8 hours of Sarah Palin playing solitaire with imaginary deck of cards than watch 10 minutes of cricket.
I thought you were going to say Sarah Palin doing things with a cricket bat.
Oh, no.
Can I actually
would
say
not
that
want to watch that.
The imaginary solitaire, that actually sounds entertaining.
Very entertaining. And in that vein, we're sponsored today by Vice Presidential candidate Sarah Palin. That's it.
We'd like to thank our engineers and producer, engineer Eric Holcomb and producer Neil Rasmussen. Sometimes they're interchangeable. You never know quite who's the engineer and who's the producer. But either way, Eric and Neil, thank you guys. Like to thank the team for Dame Kathleen Taylor, Count Evanoff,
Yes.
Dr. Orlando, Josh, Brennan.
you.
My name's Jeremy Taylor. Thank you very much for listening to another Wednesday night.
Carbonite maneuver.
I did say, yes, I said Brennan.
Oh, okay. I did. Oh, okay.
Put it down.